can you remove a birthmark / mole without any scarring? Well, a birthmark maybe. So a birthmark, it kind of depends on what color the birthmark is. So if it's like a red birthmark, so if it's a vascular birthmark, sometimes you get brown ones, kind of like moles, which are also birthmarks. But a red one, it might be possible to treat with laser, and there are lasers which will specifically target the red pigment, and that would not necessarily leave any scarring. Sometimes you can get scarring with laser, but the good thing about laser, oh god, laser, is that it is good for red birthmarks. And I've interestingly, I've got a question about this later on. But anyway, but a brown birthmark, so a mole, so a mole, like a pigmented brown mole or a pigmented brown birthmark, then the laser that will be required for that will be a CO2 laser, which is an ablative laser. I don't do laser, so I'm not an expert in laser. So if you do want to talk about laser, you probably need to talk about someone who sort of does it. But a CO2 laser kind of like cuts a bit like a knife, and would be leaving similar scarring to a cutting it. And the thing about cutting it and scars and things like that is that we do sometimes get into situations where we have cut something out and given a scar, but it heals really well, so that it doesn't look like they've got a scar, and they think they haven't got a scar, which is obviously a great position to be in, but it you have got a scar, but it's just so good that you can't see it. So strictly speaking, a kind of brown birthmark or a brown mole will need to be removed by removing that piece of skin. And I guess it comes down to how superficial the mole is. If the mole's quite thin and superficial, you might be able to get away with just taking the top layer of the skin off, not having a full thickness skin injury, and therefore that wouldn't leave any significant scarring. But that would be quite a superficial thing. Things like seborrheic keratoses, sometimes you can sort of kind of shave off or scrape off, and you don't have a full thickness injury to the skin. And once they heal, they can heal without any obvious scarring. The problem with the kind of less skin that you take off, it only works for things that are quite superficial. Often it has to be raised. You can't do it with a flat one. And because you're only taking the superficial layer off, if there's any pigment, if there's any brownness deeper, and with a lot of moles, the pigment goes deeper than the sort of level of the shave, then you can end up with a flat brown thing, which can look similar to the raised brown thing, unless it's the raised nature that's the main issue. But if it's the fact that it's a mole, the mole might kind of still be there. If it's a brown one, skin-colored ones or lightly pigmented ones which are raised, and seborrheic keratosis has this classic stuck-on appearance. Those sorts of lesions have a possibility of a shave excision where you can remove it without